Welcome to the American Roundtable. I'm Al Spry.
And I'm Drea Dahl.
Drea Dahl is new joining us, and we're very happy to have her. On tonight's show, we have Russian hacking. We have a man shot dead at Orly Airport. The U.S. not participating in a special U.S. council. We'll tell you more about that. Also, Fox drops a big analyst, and Ivanka gets a West Wing office. What do you think about Ivanka?
I love Ivanka. I think the world needs some more good-looking women in powerful positions.
I think that good-looking women in powerful positions sounds good to me. Also, we're going to have Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of taking a little snap back at Trump. It seems that they're having a little bit of a war of words, a war of personalities. They both have big egos, and so, you know, that's always an interesting thing that we're going to be talking about. And we'll have some surprises, too, like we always do. This is Politics as Unusual. We like to call it the American Roundtable. And boy, do we have a great show for you. We want you to stay tuned. More in a moment. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. We keep it real, we keep it tough here. It's your 30 minutes of political power. I'm Al Spry. It's great to have Drea Dahl here. Drea, I kind of opened the show with you because people are a little unfamiliar with you. We had you do some stuff with us last week, but I wanted to bring you in. And number one, you're a lovely lady, and you're also very talented, and you have some big opinions. Tell me more about yourself.
I was born in Brazil. I grew up in Michigan. I went to school here in Florida, and now I live in South Florida.
So Brazil, it's very interesting. We're in Brazil.
Brasilia, Brazil.
Wow.
Brazil.
Wow, so you have Brazilian roots.
Yes, I do.
Oh, this is cool. And what makes you so interested in politics and things going on, current events?
Because I have to live in the world today, and everything affects everything, so it makes me interested.
I like that. I like that you have a keen interest in what's going on. Well, let's jump right in and take a look at this first story. It says the FBI confirming it's investigating any Russian links to the Trump campaign. At the same time, FBI Director James Comey, who seems to be in the hot seat a lot lately, you remember his turn right before the election when he was the guy who said that, well, we won't be pressing any charges against Hillary Clinton for the unauthorized emails, unauthorized use of email. However, he's also said that there is no evidence of any wiretapping, as the Trump administration has asserted. But at the same time, they're going to look into some issues that the Russians may have played a role in the election. My personal opinion is I think this is a distraction device. I don't really think there was any Russian hacking or Russian involvement in the. You know how widespread the involvement would have to be to affect a U.S. election? It would have to be pervasive, and we're just not seeing that. I think it's a political witch hunt. What do you think?
I mean, honestly, I think at this point, who cares? It's over with. It really, there's no way it affected it. They can't prove anything, and even if they did, what are we going to do about it? They don't do anything.
Well, I think there's a pervasive attitude in Washington that if that there's all this gang mentality that, oh, well, you did this to us, so now we're going to go after you, whether there's evidence or not. And I think that that's been this way for quite a while. That there's this attitude of you did this to me, we're going to do this to you, and so I think it's a very immature attitude, and I don't think it does anything to move forward the United States or make things better for our people. I think it's a lot of gang mentality. Your thoughts?
I agree. I just don't think that they have any way to prove anything that they say at this point, and I just find that them really, I mean, they didn't influence me, and I voted in the election, so how did they influence anyone else?
You know, this is a good point, and of course we'll have more on this. We'll also have more on Ivanka Trump. Of course, we have some news from Fox News and some important news coming out of France. More in a moment on the American Roundtable. Welcome back to the American Roundtable, and we are talking, of course, Russian hacking. We're also talking about a very disturbing incident at Orly Airport, just south of Paris, where a man, a militant Muslim, who's been radicalized, tried to kill a police officer and was shot dead. So thankfully the police officer was not killed. However, this is just another indication of how insane some members, radicalized members of the Muslim religion are. Now, of course, I don't want to paint the picture that this affects all Muslims. Of course not. There's a lot of moderate Muslims and a lot of Muslims who just want to be left alone. And we're not talking about them. But we are talking about this group. And, of course, these people are being led astray by ISIS and other radicalized Muslim cults and groups. So again, this was just a few days ago. Seized the weapon of a soldier guarding Paris's Orly airport. And of course, emergency vehicles surrounded the airport, confused passengers gathering in parking lots. And then, of course, the elite raid special police force worked to secure the airport. French National Police said only one man was involved in the attack, denied reports of a possible second attacker. A National Police official, speaking on condition of anonymity, said that about 3,000 people were being evacuated from Orly. Passengers told gunshots. They told of gunshots. They were panicked. A witness identified only as Dominique said the soldiers took aim at the man, who in turn pointed the gun he had seized at the two soldiers. Paris police are still investigating whether he's linked to a shooting earlier in Staines, north of Paris. Police officials say a man fired at police officers with a gun that fired birdshot, wounding one in the face. The man fled. Now, I just want to make the comment that, again, good work by the police, good work by the officers in Paris to prevent any bloodshed. This sounds to me very much like a guy who wanted to kind of commit suicide. I mean, that's the idea I'm getting. You don't point a gun at police in that unless you're in some type of a schizophrenic mental state or suicidal. I'm guessing he's suicidal. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know, but why is Paris all of a sudden now a big spot for this when I thought they are mad at certain areas in the West for certain policies and for us going to war and different things. And Paris pretty much, and France stays out of a lot of stuff.
They do stay out of a lot of stuff, but back in the 60s and the 70s, 80s, and then through the past few decades, they've taken in millions of Muslim refugees. And there were more Muslims living in France than in any other European country. And so when you have that many people of that religious persuasion, you're going to have radicalization of a portion of that population. And then you're going to have people acting out in consort. And when you're in France, you're within the borders. You can pretty much act the way you want. And so we've seen this in France, and the Muslims are not liking the French people very much. They don't like anyone in the West. They want everyone, of course, the radical ones want everyone to become Muslim. Because they see any other religion as an infidelic religion, right? You're of the infidels. You are not of the true religion. And so, and again, this doesn't pertain to all Muslims. I'm talking about the radicalized Muslims. So that's basically the answer to that.
So awesome. Thanks, Obama, for the refugees.
Well, this was way before Obama. This goes back to the Turkish refugees of the 70s. Sure. We did, and Germany did, and I can pretty much almost guarantee, just based on the evidence, that there may be some, we don't want it to happen, of course, but we're looking at the possibility that there may be some problems in Germany because of all the Muslim refugees they're taking in. Are we saying not to take in refugees? No, but just make sure that there's a vetting process. Know who you're taking in. Make sure that these folks do not have access to radicalizing videos, radicalizing materials. If you have to censor your internet, well, then you have to censor your internet. What else are you going to do? Because it just sounds to me like you're just inviting the devil into your country or trouble into your country, and that's not the way to run a country. I mean, you know, we want everyone to stay safe. We want everyone to live and let live. We're all about tolerance. I think every country is. And I think every country wants to do the good deed and help people that are refugees. And I don't have a problem with that, as long as the refugees are aware that they have to act in a certain way because they're being given a helping hand, and they have to be pro whatever country that they're in. We'll have more on this and other stories on the American Roundtable on Tough TV and Tough TV 38. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. Well, the Trump administration, of course, is coming across as an extremely conservative administration. I haven't seen an administration this conservative, obviously, since the Reagan administration. But I think it's even more conservative than the Reagan administration, which tells me one thing. Everything that Trump said on the campaign trail, he meant. He wasn't just trying to please the conservatives. He has become a hardline conservative. And this is a guy who was pretty liberal about 30 years ago. Your thoughts on that?
I think he is conservative, but I think the world maybe requires him to be a little bit at this point. As far as us boycotting it, I don't think we should boycott it, though. I think we should participate in everything we can.
And I agree with you. I think boycotting things only takes our voice out of the conversation. Basically, the story is this: the administration will not participate in the UN Human Rights Council as long as it perceives an anti-Israel bias, according to the Trump administration. Whether there is an anti-Israel bias, I cannot say. But it will boycott the UN Council. It is saying to protest the organization's treatment of Israel. The UN has taken a pretty hard stance against Israel's treatment of Palestinians, as well as its West Bank settlements, which are illegal under international law. In part, the U.S. officials oppose an HRC mandate, that's Human Rights Council mandate, known as Agenda Item 7, that the Council must discuss Israel and its treatment of Palestinians at every meeting. But a boycott is not unheard of. The U.S. didn't participate in the Council debates under President George W. Bush, and it only participated during 6 of President Barack Obama's 8 years. And even then, the Obama administration didn't take part in debates about Israel's human rights record. The Trump administration says other countries that are HRC members also commit human rights violations, but aren't targeted by the UN. The White House's latest budget proposal cuts U.S. funding to the UN significantly. As you know, the UN is headquartered in New York. But Congress has the final say on whether those cuts will actually happen. A lot of posturing, a lot of saying, intimating that we're a friend of Israel, which we've always been, going back to when President Truman signed off on making Israel part of the UN. So where we are right now is we have the Israeli government conducting certain things like West Bank settlements, which really aren't supposed to be happening. And so it's definitely a quagmire here. The issue is, are we going to talk these out or not? And I wanted to hear your thoughts.
I mean, if we're going to talk about it, we have to be there, don't we? We can't boycott it. I think we need to go, if we're Israel's friend, we should go stick up for them then and have the meeting with them. I mean, it's a council to explain both sides. So, I mean, us boycotting and saying nothing is not going to solve anything.
Well, no. I mean, really, it acts just as they're trying to act as a political lever, but it really doesn't bring us anywhere towards any resolution of anything. The closest we came to resolution was some 25 years ago when we had something worked out as far as a peace treaty, but of course that all went to heck with the assassination of Rabin. And once that was done, everything just kind of unraveled. We find ourselves in a 25-year impasse. I can make a prediction right here on American Roundtable, and that is the following. This problem will be going on long after Drea and I have passed on to hopefully somewhere good, because this has been going on for thousands of years and will go on for thousands of years more. I don't really see a solution. Do you, Drea?
No. But maybe they don't. Maybe they're not that important meetings. None of our other presidents seem to go either.
Well,
It
it's
doesn't
not
matter
that they're
what
it's not that they're
size
not
they're on.
important. It's that we're going to take a hardline stance on support of Israel no matter
It's
what.
just that nothing's accomplished in them.
Nothing's
so we're probably
being
sick of
accomplished.
Going after hundreds of years. We're probably like enough.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if I was them, I might be tired myself. But then again, when you stop talking, you stop discussing. When you stop discussing, you stop coming out with any type of solutions. And that's called kicking the can down the road. As long as people kick the can down the road, nothing is going to be accomplished. And all we're going to do is just see more death and destruction and war. And what good is that? Because what's war good for? Absolutely nothing. I've never seen a purpose for it. Except as a defensive posture when you're being attacked. So let's hope we can come up with solutions. More in a moment. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. So happy to have Drea Dahl here with us. And now we're going to move to Fox News and a big upheaval at Fox News. Hopefully this won't be a permanent suspension, but we have to tell you that Fox's legal analyst, Andrew Napolitano, a guy that I really admire, actually, because he talks it straight. He's been benched following controversial remarks, according to some, which were denounced as utterly ridiculous. Why? I'm not sure. But let me give you the scoop. He claimed a British intelligence agency helped former President Barack Obama wiretap Trump Tower, and they're saying that's ridiculous. In a rare statement from Britain's Government Communications Headquarters Intelligence Agency, Napolitano, former New Jersey Superior Court judge, claimed on air and in his column on Fox News that multiple sources told him GCHQ most likely provided Obama with transcripts of Trump's calls. Now, since this came out a few years ago with the Snowden case and people finding out they're being wiretapped, why is that completely ridiculous? Why would that observation, if he's heard it from several sources, and this is a former judge, why would that be labeled as ridiculous?
I have no idea, but can't he just say who told him?
Well, he doesn't want to give away his sources.
Yeah, but if
you
you're
know.
going to get in trouble for it, why not? At least to somebody that can verify it and then kind of...
I just think that he shouldn't be getting in trouble, you know.
Yeah, because why are the other fake news stories not in trouble then?
This is a very good question. It almost seems like there's some kind of fix-in. Fox anchor Shepard Smith said Friday the network didn't have any proof for Napolitano's claims. The Daily News reported on that. Fox News knows of no evidence, as a quote, of any kind that the now President of the United States was surveilled at any time in any way, full stop. President Trump described Napolitano as a very talented legal mind when asked about the claims during a Friday news conference. Quote, that was a statement made by a very talented lawyer on Fox, and so you shouldn't be talking to me, you should be talking to Fox, unquote. On Sunday, Napolitano defended his remarks in a statement to Fox's Media Buzz, saying he still believes what his sources told him. It's going to be very interesting where this story develops. We'll, of course, keep you abreast of any new developments on the story, but I can tell you just from my gut, this is not a guy who's going to make stuff up if he has multiple sources. So maybe there is actually something to it. Remember, they denied Watergate too at first, and the more the evidence came out, the more it turned out it was the case. We'll leave it up to the tale of the tape and time and see what comes of this. Some final thoughts from our friend Arnold Schwarzenegger about President Trump in just a moment. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. A couple more stories before we have to go. First, Ivanka Trump, that is Donald Trump's daughter, gets an office in the West Wing. Your thoughts?
I think it's great. I think she deserves an office.
She's going to be, of course, working on various roles. Trump planning to adhere to the same ethics and records retention rules that apply to government employees, even though she will not be working for the government. She basically wants to have a space next to senior advisor Dina Powell, who was recently promoted to a position at the NSC. She's also in the process of obtaining a security clearance and is set to receive government-issued communication devices this week, I guess being a help to the dad. And now, of course, before we go, it's time to turn our attention briefly to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I guess these two have had a little argument. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger took over Trump's role in The Apprentice. Now, of course, Donald Trump being Donald Trump, he figured no one else should ever take his role in The Apprentice except Donald Trump. Number one, the show was created for Donald Trump. He's now president. Basically, his feeling is they should just wrap the show up without him. Well, the network hired Arnold Schwarzenegger, who promptly did 3 or 4 shows, and then they fired him. At the whole time, the president was saying disparaging things about Arnold and his performance on The Apprentice, saying that the ratings are bad, and Arnold doesn't know what he's doing. So, of course, now we have Arnold's turn to give it back to Trump. President Trump took a few swings at Arnold Schwarzenegger's low Apprentice ratings, like we said, but the tables have now turned. Arnold posted a video on Twitter the other day mocking Trump's low approval ratings, meaning in the nation. He said, quote, "You got swamped. Wow, now you're in the 30s. That was my bad Arnold impression, by the way. And means only 30-something% of Americans are approving of Donald Trump's handling of the office so far. Suggesting they're so low because Trump is doing things like taking away after-school programs for kids and Meals on Wheels for poor people. That's not what you call, quote, making America great again, unquote. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger is also a Republican, so that's very interesting coming from him.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're fighting. I would think they would want to be friends. I would make him my Secretary of State and send him to all the other countries.
Schwarzenegger also concluded by inviting Trump to come with him to a middle school a few miles from the White House to check out its after-school programs. So the war continues. But I will say this, if Trump is going to cut Meals on Wheels and after-school programs for kids, shame on him. That's all the time we have for today. I want to thank, of course, Drea Dahl for coming in and being a member of this fine broadcast. This is what we call Politics is Unusual, and it always is. I'm Al Spry.
I'm Drea Dahl.
And, of course, we'll see you next week on the American Roundtable.